Today we are going to install the new DRT Motorsports Maverick R tire carrier adventure rack. This rack fits the Can-Am Maverick R, all models. Install time is around 60 minutes. Can be installed by yourself, with a difficulty level of intermediate. You will need this list of tools to complete the installation. So, gather the tools, and let's install. Let's start by installing the two jam nut and heim joints onto the carrier ends. Hand thread them all the way on until they stop, and then back them off so they are straight up and down. Next, grab the front half of the carrier and set it over, and align the mounting holes with the back half of the carrier, as shown here. Now, install the supplied 6 13mm bolts and backing nuts finger tight. Then, grab the L brackets and install them with small holes facing out and the notch facing the latch end of the carrier. Next, install two 6mm Allen head bolts and tighten them down. Repeat on the other side of the carrier. Then, install the other two 13mm bolts, and tighten down each side, as you see here. Now, go back and finish tightening the 6 bolts across the center, that we only hand tightened earlier. Lastly, grab and set in the smaller L bracket along the middle rail. This bracket can be installed on either side of this rail. Then, install the supplied 4 10mm bolts and backing hardware, and tighten them down. Next, using a T30 Torx bit, we will be removing these hard-to-reach inside back bolts. First, using only the Torx socket, remove this bolt facing inward. You should be able to remove it by hand. Now, with that bolt removed, begin to remove the factory plastic, shown here. You can help it release by pushing from the back side as well. Once removed, set it aside. Next, we will remove this rear bolt, then the one straight down behind the plastic, as shown here, and lastly the bolt on the inside of the framework. Now, you can remove the factory plastic cover, and set the whole piece aside. Next, we need to remove this factory taillight cover. Using the same T30 Torx bit, remove this bolt here, and there is one more bolt here to remove. Then, slide the bodywork out and set aside. Repeat these steps to the other side of the vehicle. Next, we need to remove this rear factory tail light bodywork. Using a T30 Torx bit, remove this outer bolt on each side. Then, remove these 2 middle bolts as well, and keep them all together as they will be reinstalled. Now, using a T25 Torx bit, remove these 4 inner bed bolts holding the top of the bodywork. Once removed, the tail light bodywork comes off easily, and set it aside. Next, we are going to install this rear bracket mount. The bracket mounts as shown, but first we need to drill 2 holes. We achieve this by measuring in from this point on the plastic, shown here, 7 3/8 of an inch in from both sides, as you see here. Then, from this inside edge outward, measure 7/8 of an inch and mark your holes. Now, using a step drill, drill these 2 holes out to the size of the bracket holes. Next, set the bracket in place, as shown here, and grab the top latch plate and set it in place, as you see here. Align the holes, and install the supplied 2 17mm bolts. Now, install the lower bracket hardware, the supplied 2 17mm bolts, and thread on the 18mm backing nuts. Then, tighten them down. Next, now that the lower bracket bolts are secure, it's time to reinstall the factory tail light bodywork. Grab the bodywork and set it in place. Now, snap in the top edge and light sections. Then, reinstall the 4 factory T25 Torx bolts across the back of the trunk. Next, tighten the 2 outer bolts, on each side of the vehicle. Then, reinstall the 2 outer factory plastic bodywork, and hardware. Then, finish reinstalling the factory bodywork, by installing the 2 middle bolts, and tighten down. Make sure all is secure, before moving to next steps. Now, go back and tighten down the latch plate bolts. There is some adjustment in the plate, but we recommend pulling the plate all the way back, and then tighten the plate down. Next, using a 16mm socket or wrench, and an 18mm wrench on the backing nut, remove the 2 inner cage bolts, as you see here. Now, remove the bolts, grab your mounting plate, and set it in place. There is a left and a right plate, and they can only be installed one way. Next, reinstall the bolts and tighten them down. Then, repeat these steps. Don't forget to install the supplied 5mm Allen button top bolt in the middle of the mount. Then, repeat these steps on the other side of the vehicle. Now, in the cargo bed, remove these 2 factory 5mm Allen bolts, as you see here. Next, insert a supplied spacer into each pocket. Then, grab the shock mount plate, and set it in place as shown. Now, reinstall the 2 Allen head bolts, and tighten down. Now, before you reinstall the cage mount factory covers, you will need to do some cutting and trimming of the bodywork to fit around the newly installed carrier mounts. The red cross sections show what needs to be cut on both sides to fit around the new mounts. Next, after doing the appropriate trimming on the cage mount bodywork, set the bodywork in place, making sure that the back mount snaps over and in front of the cage nut. Now, reinstall the inner T30 Torx bolt, the outer front bolt, and then the outer rear bolt, and tighten down. Next, grab the number plate factory plastic, and insert the rear tab first, and begin to snap all the tabs back into place. Then, reinstall the bolt that holds the plate on from the back side. Now, repeat these steps on the other side of the vehicle. Here is a view of where the hardware is located, and how to reach it when reinstalling. Next, grab the carrier rack itself, and set it in place over the cargo area. This can be done by yourself, but using a friend is suggested. Snap the latches in place on the rear plate, and then line up the heim joints with the front mounts. Now, grab 2 misalignments, slide them into place on each side of the heim joint, and then slide the bolt into place, as shown here. Then, tighten them down with a 16mm wrench on the bolt, and an 18mm wrench on the backing nut. Again, repeat these steps on the other side of the vehicle. Next, install the upper and lower shock ball end mounts. Both the upper and lower mounts install facing inward on the brackets, and tighten down with a 12mm wrench on the ball end, and a 13mm wrench on the backing nut. Now, with the shock body facing downward, snap the bottom of the shock into place on each side. Then, snap the other end of the shock to the rack, and close the rack. You are all done. Congrats, that completes your DRT Maverick R tire carrier adventure rack install. This 2024 Plus Can-Am Maverick R tire carrier adventure rack is an essential upgrade for the 2024 Plus Can-Am Maverick R owner who needs the ability to carry a spare tire or gear on their vehicle. This tire carrier is compatible with factory or aftermarket cages. This rack features a box design with tons of tie-down point options, heavy-duty latches, and lift assist shocks. When used as a tire carrier, the rack will hold up to a 35 inches tire securely to keep you on the trails and running hard. Until we meet on your next DRT install, be safe out there. If you have any questions during your installation, Don't hesitate to contact us via phone or email. We are here to help.